Welcome everyone to Health Leaders. I have a very special guest, and it was one of those choices, that I was like, this is about health and wellness, obviously career paths and what you do for work or purpose or any of those things. So I have Lori Theriault. I said it right. The founder and CEO of Work It.
Yes.
So basically, I'm in a business group with Lori, and I was like, I don't want to say intimidated. I want to say, like, because you were doing what you were doing, and we'll get into that in a second. I was like, well, I don't want to like sit down with her and have her be like, well, you chose the wrong career, Ben. Like, I thought that would be like what would happen. You're like, Ben, you're in the wrong career. And I didn't want to hear that because I tried so hard in this career. So, but why don't you kind of give that pitch on what exactly Work It is, and also, how you kind of started. What was the drive to kind of start this?
Okay. Well, like you said, we're in a networking group, and both of us have been in business for about 7 years. So we've been both in business about 7 years now, and
congrats about that.
Yeah,
7 years.
Congratulations to you as well.
Thank you.
And it's building a business from the ground up. It's challenging, rewarding, very entrepreneurial.
We were talking about that before we started.
Yeah. So I don't think Ben would have had me on as a guest unless he felt comfortable knowing that he was in the right field. And I can say that I'm going to sit here today and let him know that he is on the right path.
Oh, thank you. I needed that so badly today,
so let's
especially.
Just start off that way.
Yes.
So here I am 7 years later and spinning off of a dream, starting a career in human resources originally, working with people, studying people, working out people issues. But the piece of it that I enjoyed was studying people.
Yeah.
Studying people. So, what was my hobby growing up? Studying people.
It was like people watching.
Yeah,
I
love it.
That's a fun thing to do.
It really is a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
I just definitely love that piece of it. So, when you have a young mind and you're really not sure what you're going to be when you grow up, I knew it was to be with people and business. Those were my two passions. So starting off 7 years ago after a 30-year career in manufacturing, and giving up all of that responsibility, management title, salary, to start a brand new business that doesn't exist anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
That's what I did. So it spun off of a dream that I had in January 2015, and it was to help people build resumes of passion, not just skill.
It's huge.
So in 30 years of working in human resource capacities and watching people's resumes appear, and they looked fabulous on paper, but to meet them in person, they just weren't driven. They just had built something that they didn't feel they could unravel and build something else instead. So here I am 7 years after that dream, and over close to 4,000 people, ages 10 all the way to 70, have gone through.
4,000. That is awesome. That is so awesome.
All mainly word of mouth. So one person has great results, they spread it to the next person, and then obviously this networking is key to anybody's business growth. So here I am.
Yeah. Here you are indeed.
As your guest.
Yes.
Today, and excited about the future because I think the rumble is just getting more rumbly.
Yeah. Well, they say around that 10-year mark, like right before you kind of hit that 10-year mark with anything, because now you have word of mouth, like you said. So you've had positive interactions with people, kids, adults, you name it. Mothers, fathers, everything. You've had that positive reaction to what you've done. In how I linked that to health, because it was one of those things where I kind of was like, is this health? And I'm like, it is, because the majority of the stuff that you're going to do in your life, you're going to be working, you're going to be doing something purposeful, you're going to be doing something towards it. So the thing I found early on in life is when you hate what you do, you are such a miserable person. You are so hard to be around. And what I've found is I wanted to do something that I knew that I really enjoyed doing. And sales and kind of like being able to, or not sales, but really being able to be around people and have them see the value in something I was good at. And so for me personally, I went to the Branford Hall, I went to the PFT program. And I mean, I was a high school dropout. Like I just didn't know. I went to night school. I was working like 55, 60 hours a week. When I was 15, I lied on a resume just so I can get a job. And, so for me to be able to put myself through that, and how valuable of somebody, I would have needed somebody like you so badly then. So, I mean, you should be celebrating 15 years, so I could have used you then.
I know.
But
I wish that there was a place that I could capture all the people that are stuck at the 15-year mark and be able to get them, all together.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm sure there's some sort of vehicle available to do that. But you're absolutely right. There's so many more Bens out there that are so hungry for something. They just don't know what. That was that's a very valuable piece, because it's like right now we have so much aimlessness in this. I don't want to say this country, because then it makes it sound like I'm like, oh, in this country we have so much, but it's really true. We have so many young men and young women have no idea. They're like, I need something, but what is that something? So to have somebody or a company, like yours come along and really notice and kind of pick up on those small details for them is massive. And that's something that obviously should be celebrated. And 7 years of being in business obviously is a huge deal as well. So you should be proud of yourself for that. I mean, I know I am, because I mean, that's incredible. And 4,000, people or children now. We've talked all a little bit, all ages. So you do work with adults. I do. Awesome. Yeah, because that's probably the biggest question you get. No. Yeah, I think the adults are obviously they have. Sometimes the adults will try it first for themselves and then offer it to their children. Okay. A lot of moms will do that, and there's a lot of people in the world that are feeling stuck in a job that they don't feel they can get out of. There's many employees during COVID. During COVID, they wanted out of what they worked so hard to do, and it was just changing for them, and it wasn't the change that they were going to be able to put up with. So they sought options to be able to weigh out their options. Yeah. And I was that option. So a lot of during COVID was adult women looking to change their career path from medical or teaching to something else. Yeah, because that was so big during that time. Right. There was a lot of restrictions and changes, technology requirements, things like that. So, it's important that the audience here knows that those 4,000 individuals that have gone through this life-changing program of 2 hours, it's just a 2-hour commitment that changes your life forever. That 4,000 person, it turns into 12,000 because they bring it home. Yeah, that's very true. So you're impacting not only the original 4,000, but additional, 2 other family members within their household. I say that a lot, implementing good behavior or implementing whatever is learned in a household, similar to nutrition, strength training, taking care of yourself. It's the same with kind of learning about, it's kind of like, have you ever read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? So that book, it just like a lightning bolt to my head, because I came from my dad was the type of guy that tried, and this is actually 10 years to the day. He died 10 years ago, and my dad was a guy trying to change his stars. He was one of those guys that was like, I don't know how to do this. So he bought a 3-family house. He was trying to make all the right investments, ends up getting in a very messy divorce, all this other stuff. But the main goal is he was a guy that was trying hard to get away from that poor dad mentality. So what I've learned is everybody's mountain is exactly the same. The mountain that you have to climb in life, and I mean this like that, it's there. How you do it and navigate, how you complain about it, what you do, what you're taught,
has everything
What you
to
believe.
do what you believe, everything in the household. So with you teaching somebody, an adult, to go like, hey, you can be this thing that you wanted to do that you kind of gave up, or maybe kind of think that you weren't good enough or whatever. You can do this thing. And when they go home and tell their kids that is a message that is lost. And so because it was a message I didn't hear at all until I was maybe like 25, 26.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I was like so much older. And then I was like, well,
yeah.
See, I should have,
Yeah.
Kills me that you weren't there when I was
So
when
that's
I was
why,
younger.
and I guess the dream is that much bigger because I'm one person, you're one person, but our entrepreneurial minds need to carry this forth to many people.
Yes.
Because we are born to change people's lives in a positive way. So as I move forward in building my business, it needs to be more than just me.
That's
so
true.
that it can impact a lot more lives. So in fine-tuning the recipe, and that's where we are right now, and in launching new things, which will enable, new hires and new examples of, expertise.
Yeah.
Outside of what I do. My area of expertise is personalities. I'm a personalities expert, and I am able to have a gift. I have a gift of being able to lead you to a dream job in your mind.
Of course.
Sometimes there's bonuses. Sometimes people do get doors open that lead them to a job, within a short period of time of meeting with me, but that's a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a guarantee.
Got it.
So it's important to know that the program that I've designed is equally as beneficial for a 10-year-old as it is for a 65-year-old.
That's so awesome.
Because there's so many people that are near retirement that are just nervous about, it could be money, it could be
financial.
So there's that fear of money, and what are you going to do to enjoy the next 30 years that you're going to live? Because 30 years is a long time to say that you're not doing anything with your life.
It's so, you're saying, this is really hitting home as of late to me, and maybe this is too intricate or too personal, but lately, because I have kind of hit that stride of success, like the success I wanted to see in myself, I should say. Success is general for everybody. It's relative for everybody. Mm-hmm. I started doing this thing where I was chasing money again. And I did that when I was younger. You chase money instead of doing what you love and you're passionate about. The money comes, which is how I've built my entire business, how I've built myself, how I've done everything. In the past, maybe like 3-4 months, it was like, you're just paper chasing, man. Like, you got to knock that shit off.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get back to your roots. You got to get back to laughing with your clients. You got to get back to interacting with people that I was so excited for today. I'm same thing, personality type. I love being around that.
Yeah.
And in that paper chasing. So the financial thing I've found is you're far more valuable and purposeful when you're doing something that you actually wanted to do. Because if not, like, once again, if you're doing things you're dreading to do, you're not as good of a person. You're not going to make as much money. You're not going to be at your full potential to do those things. And like I said, I'd like to know if you could kind of share with us a little bit maybe of that process without giving too much away.
Sure.
Like, so when somebody kind of comes in with you and kind of like, okay, Lori, I'm in this thing. I want to do this, or they start talking, what then? Like, what happens through that process? Like, they sit down with you, then what?
Okay, so I guess it's very personalized. So everybody comes in with a different fear. Mm-hmm. A lot of it stems from money. They don't want to make a move because they're used to their weekly paycheck.
Got it.
And that's something that I walk them through so that there's a bridge that they slowly cross to be able to not miss that weekly paycheck. So they kind of overlap.
Got it.
Where they're going to where they've been. So the process is different for a middle school or a high school student than it would be for an adult who's been working for 10 years. So which process would you like me to cover first?
Well, I think for the most part, I would say cover the process for an adult. I mean, we can go in through children because I imagine, like you said, the adults usually do it first and then see if it would be for their children. You know, I even had, I think we've talked about it briefly. I have a couple people that I'm going to be, that I've already recommended. But I think this will kind of push that a little bit further along. Yeah. I think so. So, but yeah, so an adult, I imagine, would probably be the best one.
Okay. So you have an adult who is frustrated. They don't know if they're frustrated with their boss, coworkers, or the job itself. So they come in a confused state. They're like, I don't know whether to leave the industry completely or just leave the company.
Yeah.
So we sort, the process starts off with a personality assessment. So it takes about 10 minutes to kind of, for me to become them. I always say that, and they kind of look at me strange. Yeah. So you're going to become me. Absolutely, I'm going to become you because I need to be able to relate to whatever it is that your fears are and where your passion is. So, after 2 hours, is a 2-hour session. If I'm changing who I am completely, I'm drained. But if there's somebody that's like-minded, like you're like-minded, so it'd be totally energized.
Yeah.
But most people are not like us, Ben.
You don't say.
Most people are not.
Yeah.
So there's only about 10% of the world that are actually brave enough to try new things and fall down, get back up, and try again. Most people don't like the feeling of taking that risk.
Really?
Because of finances, they can't tolerate them going down without a guarantee that it's going to go back up. And that's what we face as entrepreneurs.
Do you get, and then maybe this is a question of a personality type, because I have this fear of staying the same. I have like an actual, not phobia, but it definitely is a fear of mine. Like
stagnation.
Yeah. Oh my God. It drives me nuts.
Me too.
Like if to become a regular at a bar is a nightmare for me. To go to the same restaurant twice is like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Or just, and it's weird because I'm oddly consistent with everything else to nourish and kind of facilitate the growth. But it is strange that you say that because I'm always asking people like, why would you not want to change? Why would you not want to do that?
Only 10% of the world wants to.
And I'm starting to learn that now.
We are outnumbered.
Yeah,
We're outnumbered. So when we do find people that are like-minded, we stay close to them because that's where, when our gas tank starts to become emptied, we find out those people so that we can replenish. Yeah. And there's not too many of us.
That's huge. Is that why now would you say your friend circle is small? Because mine is. Mine's very, very small.
Yeah, because most of the friends probably that we grew up with would never take the risk that we are doing. So they're watching us and laughing or
waiting for it all to fall down.
Yeah. I hate to say it that
it's
way,
true.
but most family and friends, because they are not of the same mindset, they immediately go to the negative, saying, "What are they, crazy?"
I get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Most of my family and my friends, yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
Some of the people that I met a little bit later on in my life who have become really close friends, and like you said, and I love that you're saying this because it reinforces something in me that I've been reinforcing for myself. And it's like when I'm around those people, they not make me feel, I just feel good immediately. Like I'm like, oh, I'm around these guys.
Okay.
They get it. They get it. You know?
Yeah,
like you get it. And that's why we talk, we do talk, quite a bit. And it's like, you do get it. Yeah. And it is
just remember,
nice.
In a classroom, in a traditional classroom, let's say there's 20 students, only 2 people in that room, and one of them's you, are going to understand.
Oh,
that's why in a classroom, we're not traditional learners. You quit school.
Yeah.
You mentioned. And that's completely normal because in school settings, they talk history.
Yeah.
They talk about the past. They talk about factual things. And our mindset is about forward thinking. So we're dreaming of things that haven't been invented yet, that need to be invented, that need to be fixed, that need to be introduced. And the schools are stuck in the what is known.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. I'm sure you went to school a lot for the socialization. I mean, I know
Yeah,
I did.
just about that was about
socializing. It was
That
like
was
a
about
stage. So, and we're people pleasers. So we would show up to, try to do our best in the grade section. But again, it's not studying things that are futuristic, and we're about future.
Yeah.
Introducing something that's cool. Like, ooh, there's no other place that does that.
Yeah.
And that takes time to get the audience, which is a large quantity, to understand exactly what that thinking is.
Yeah.
So we have to be patient to introduce that stuff and wait for the timing to be right.
I've definitely noticed that. Now with you working with adults and them not having that mindset, or the fact that they wouldn't have that mindset.
Most of them don't.
Now, to explain to them, like, hey, this is going to be a risk, a calculated risk, but a risk, and something that you would explain to them is going to take time. And as soon as you say that, their reaction must be fear, like just instant fear of the unknown, like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that have maybe walked into a family-run business and the family is no longer there, and they feel alone. That's and they should never have been a business owner to begin with, but because they're part of the family, it just rolls into them. So how do you get somebody who's miserable in that family decision to somehow not disappoint the family, not have guilt, but be able to live their best life? So I do work with people like that. So that's a lot of business owners are trying to decide what do they do with their children who are now 12, 13 years old. Are they going to run the restaurant? Are they going to run the gym? Are they going to run the company? A lot of those children are not meant to be that. They have their own passion. Sometimes it skips a generation. So that business owner now has the opportunity to re-strategize how they will keep that business going or sell it to an outsider. So at least it gives them direction. Yeah. You don't want to wait till your child is 24 years old
and have them be pissed
exactly.
at you, and then resentful and once again resistant.
A lot of family arguments.
Oh yeah, huge. Kind of like having that you passed a business down or it's not for them. That's a big one. I've seen that a lot. I've seen it a lot with people, but with adults, I've also noticed. I had this talk with somebody. He's had some tragedy in his life, massive tragedy, and it was really nice to hear. But basically, it was like, I'm 35 years old, and I was like, he's like, I've always wanted to run my own business. I'm just so tired of working for somebody. I have the skill set. I've done everything. He's super personable. One of my favorite people just to sit and just talk with. Can go in a room and talk to anybody, on top of being an extremely hard worker. And in his field is kind of a rarity, in the construction world, but being able to have some of those specialties that he doesn't. And so he's like, I've been wanting to start my own business. And I just looked at him. I said, tell me more about that. I would love to hear more about that. And he just kind of gave me this double look, and he goes, do you know that you're the first person in 8 years that said that to me? Like, tell me more. Not, why would you want to do that? That's not, you're crazy. That sounds terrible. Or whatever, the case may be. And I've had people in my family, in my actual immediate family, be like, why would you do that? And I remember that 10 years ago, and it stayed with me. So you'd have to be careful who you share good news with or those news with. So coming to you is probably refreshing for a lot of them that are in their 30s, going, hey, I need a career change, or I feel like I need something. And you're not going, why would you want to do that? You're going, yeah, I got you. Let's do this. Let's make that first step or second step.
In going back to that personality assessment, and that takes maybe 10, 15 minutes in the beginning of my session. Right then and there, I'll know if that person is craving to be their own business owner. And there's the solopreneur versus entrepreneur. Because there's a lot of solopreneurs that do want to run their own show because they don't want to take direction from anybody else. They tend to be more consultants, more one-person operations. They control the whole process. They don't like to share any information. They don't trust anybody. That's a solopreneur doing great for themselves. They've formed a business for their lifetime, not necessarily meant to pass on to
somebody.
It's not really meant to.
Yeah.
So, but an entrepreneur, it is different. It's more about helping others succeed. Definitely excited when somebody says they want to start their own business. It's excitement for them and it's excitement for us. But like I mentioned earlier, it's 10% of the world is driven by taking that risk. So, like your friend mentioned, he says what he says, but he doesn't get the same reaction from the rest of the world. It's usually a negative reaction.
Yeah.
So it kind of shoots you down unless you're strong enough to pull yourself back out. So that personality assessment allows me to see how much stamina they're going to have,
Okay.
where their fear lives,
That's huge.
and how they will lead their team. So
I never thought about that, like the stamina of how much stamina they would have. That's huge. The resiliency of that
80% of
idea.
Most businesses that start in America fail after the first year.
Yeah.
Within the first year.
Yeah.
80%. That's a
giant number. That's a giant number.
And those are, possibly family members that are entrepreneurial that force their kids to start a business, and the kids are not entrepreneurial.
Because they don't have that stamina.
Exactly.
There's no drive there to kind of keep it going. That's huge. I never would have looked at it that way in the beginning, but
and then you talk about health conditions at that point. This is where, if you're not aligned to where you're supposed to be, over a few years, you're going to start to feel it. Whether it's not getting out of bed easily, whether it's now disengaging with socializing with friends, whether it is not providing the right answers to your customers, whether it's not showing up mentally, which a lot of people fall into. So over time, you end up getting sick. And healthcare today is overwhelmed with the amount of prescriptions probably that they have to prescribe to people to get them to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Or to help them sleep at night because of anxiety. So you and I are working the health aspect from different angles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
From different angles. So I view my company, which is Work It, as a gateway to the rest of the process of healing. So whether there's physical healing that needs to take place because they've let themselves go, their eating is way off, exercising is nothing, they need to re-engage with that. So, I mentioned earlier that we do a personality assessment, which takes 10 or 15 minutes. I become that person, which in the beginning, they gave me a weird look like, you're going to become me. Yeah, I'm going to become you so that I can understand clearly where your thinking pattern is. And at that point, we come up with 7 steps. So that's the second piece of the 2-hour session, is coming up with a plan, which includes the health aspect of it, which includes the recharge. What recharges you personally? How much sleep do you need? I can actually tell from the testing I use how much sleep your body needs on a daily basis.
Yeah.
For me, I don't need the traditional 8 hours. You and I are not traditional. Don't need that.
We're really not.
We're really not.
Really not.
And for us, our energy level is so high, and we have so much to accomplish in our lifetime. Sleeping is for later.
I'm so glad that you're saying
sleeping is for later
because I'm annoyingly ready to go in the morning. I could go from my bed to that gym just like that, the way that I woke up, snap, my feet hit the ground, I'm ready to go.
Yep.
And I know how annoying that is because I have people that tell me that it's extremely annoying, but I can't help it. I wish, but I'll also, when I was doing things growing up, even with other jobs, other things, I was just excited to get up for the day. But now, not obviously as much as I am now, because I'm doing what I really want to do.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with you that there's some people that just you start to notice that with your partners. You start to notice that with your clients. I've noticed that with my clients. Are you an AM person? Are you a PM person? Are you lunch break? Are you, should you be exercising like this or lifting like this, or does this match your lifestyle? I do something similar, just not, obviously with the career side of it. And then, you also notice like the sleep pattern, which is a big one too. It's like, hey, like I got to stop assuming that everybody can do what I can do. Once again, the mountain is the same. How you navigate through that is very different. Like my wife, needs
more sleep,
all the sleep in the world to get in, that is still cranky for 45 minutes when she gets up, where I'm like 7 hours, 4 hours. I'm like, which sucks. I'm not recommending that. Super not.
No, only 10% of the world needs that.
Yeah, like 6 to 7.5 is 7.5. 7's like perfect. Like where I'm like, whew, let's go.
Yeah.
I felt like I slept forever, and I'm ready to go. And I still perform very well, even in the gym.
But you could also perform very well at 5 hours.
It's true. It's very true. I'm trying not to say that, because I tell them to I'm always like, you need it for performance. Like in the gym, you need like it for actual strength training performance. But as far as for me for the day to day, like 6, 7, I'm like, I'm fine. Yeah. I'm like, let's go. And I can continue to do that.
You've almost like overspilled your gas tank.
Yes. That's what it feels.
Because you've got some that fell on the ground there.
Yeah.
Because, and the only thing that depletes our gas in our gas tank is when we are silenced.
God, we should have done this forever ago.
Yeah.
I've never, it's exactly when.
Yeah.
That I feel so.
When you are silenced, your gas tank is emptying quicker than you can imagine. In school, what happens is they put rules around us. In school, you're silenced. Sit there, listen, be quiet, study. And that is the worst thing for our gas tank, because we're so drained by the time we get home. If we don't have a stage to recharge, because a stage will recharge us, a microphone will recharge us.
Yeah.
We'll end up requiring more sleep because we just don't have the energy. But if we have a stage and opportunity to do podcasts all the time and talk with clients, it's amazing how little sleep you really need for the way our body runs.
It's true. It's so true. And I'm so glad you said that. The past 2 months, this is also going to be I've been kind of taking that hiatus. I took a break because I was chasing money. I was chasing things, which isn't the way that I do things.
You caught yourself.
And I caught myself, and I went, what am I doing? Like, I miss podcasting. I miss stuff for my business. I miss stuff for my other personal podcasts that I do for everyone. And I enjoy it too. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, they would ask me, or people around me, or the people that I would interact with, like, how do you guys do all the things that you're doing? And it's like, how could you not want to do everything that you possibly could that day to make that day worth it, or feel, or whatever? I have a friend that's like, I have somebody in my family too. They do one thing a day, and then the day is done. And I'm like, it drives me nuts. I don't even know how to do that. So
they need a list.
They do a checklist or something, and I do a lot of those too throughout the day.
Get them to at least accomplish 3 things. There's people that are born to be, I call them the soldiers, and then there's the leaders, and then there's the managers, and then there's the directors. Mm-hmm. So there's, in the leadership category, there's, you can lead by example, be very quiet, but yet be a master of your trade or whatever. It's important to know your leadership style. You and I are direct. We're direct because we're super confident in where we're going. Mm-hmm. We like to make the final decision, the executive decisions. We're okay with that. Managers don't necessarily want to make the executive decisions, but they will manage whatever the executives have funneled down to them.
Yeah.
Right? So there's different levels of leadership that are identified. And imagine identifying that in a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And being able to give a green light to a 10, a 12, a 13, a 15, an 18-year-old before they hit the ground running on their continuing education. Because everybody you and I even have continuing education. It's just we learn differently than most traditional styles. So being able to give a green light or set somebody free. Now, I know we're focusing a lot on adult health and adult career paths and identifying at different ages. There's a lot of guilt out there, especially mom guilt, that I battle with my clients. Some of them are single moms. Some of them are moms that have put themselves on the back burner, and being able at 40 years old to step into your light it's uncomfortable. It feels uncomfortable. They almost feel like they're being selfish.
Yes, I hear a lot of that.
So I feel that I can help a lot of women who have that mom guilt, is what I call it, and get them to appreciate their own life path, because their children have different ones. And once the whole family understands their own individual paths, it's amazing how they cheer each other on.
Yes.
So that's why earlier we said, the mom sometimes comes first and then they bring their children after, once they've tested the waters.
Mm-hmm.
So I have had many families over the 7 years that I've been in business bring the entire family over time.
That's so big too, because like we were saying before, it's that implementing that good behavior. And once that one person feels a little bit better about their life and where it's going, the direction, you're able to kind of implement that through your household and do that, which is why, like I said, we talked about that rich dad, poor dad, kind of like that mentality of like, I didn't even know. Like, here's the wild thing that is insane to me. I obviously am in a position where personal training in a training company isn't a necessity. It's not this thing. So it is kind of a luxury business. So I'm around people who are usually either very wealthy, entrepreneurial, doctors, executive types, and they have children. And, a lot of times I train their children too. And to hear these kids just talk about like, oh yeah, I'm going to go do this. And, I really like it. And like, I did not know any of those things because it wasn't passed down to me. My dad was trying as hard as he could. And my mom was, too. She didn't know who she was. And then he didn't, he was really trying to kind of do the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, teach yourself that like, hey, you could do more things. And it's amazing to me what's not being taught. So having a company like yours, having a company that's going to be there and go give people the one thing, adults, kids, people who are, in their 60s, 40s, 20s, teens, giving them that direction and giving them permission to not feel mom guilt, to not feel, hey man, like it's all good. Like at least you found out, like at least at least you're making the right steps. So that uncomfortable feeling that most of you feel, that some of us thrive on, like I can only speak for myself and a lot of the people who I introduced, that uncomfortable feeling they don't like, embrace that. But having that is got to be monumental on top of being able to follow through with a career path, because you are going to be doing that long term. You're going to be doing that's going to be your purpose, a lot of that. And it's not just raising kids. It's not just working in an office. It's not just even something that's a great career like nursing or an engineer. I've had so many people tell me in their 30s, like, hey man, like I'm going to change some things up. I have a friend who is just so sweet. Just such a great person. Dental hygienist. Phenomenal. And, just like, beautiful teeth too. So you know that you're in good hands. And she changed up. She was like, I needed to get out of that. It was something that I thought that I wanted to do when I was younger. And now I believe she was like, she works for another company as like a director or something. She's like, I love it. I make more money. I clock in, I clock out. I like the people that I'm around. I can affect them in this way, and it doesn't need to be this thing. And I always thought that that's what she was going to do. But I guess, like I said, a huge change, and she was in her late 30s or mid 30s. So it's like, that's awesome. You want people to be able to do that. So coming to you and having that is, God, like I said,
it serves as a green light.
Yeah,
it's a green light.
It's huge. Now, as far as like, I don't want to say in closing, but what message would you say to somebody? I guess we could have two. What message do you say to a lot of these young kids? And I wouldn't say like 10. I mean like 15, 16, 17. Where
the 15-year-old Ben.
Yeah, the 15. Yeah, maybe. How about that? Yeah. We'll do the 15-year-old Ben.
Okay.
What message would you give that person?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the message I would give to the 15-year-old Ben.
Oh boy.
Is that your natural skills, the skills that you were born with, are very powerful. And once you identify and confirm them, doors are going to open that are going to take you to the greatest purpose ever. For you, I'm going to speak specifically to the 15-year-old Ben, his personality, because you represent only 10% of the world. You're born to change something in the world in a positive way, which means that you can't sleep 8 to 10 hours a day because you got a lot of stuff to do.
That's very true.
So, those people that, those little kids that are not napping or didn't nap when they were little, those are the game changers, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the game changers. They are not sleeping because they don't want to miss a thing, and they have enough stamina to be able to do something very great. So congratulations to those moms that have those kids that just won't sleep.
Yeah.
They're great kids. And, Ben, you're somebody that every day you're thinking about how you can make things better. Continuous improvement, not only for yourself, but for others. So other people's success is your success, and that's how you live and breathe. So I guess in closing, I would say, may the entire universe find jobs that they never have to use the retirement word in their lifetime. Because if you're doing what you love, you never have to retire from it.
That's so true. I absolutely love that. And seriously, thank you for this. Like this has been one of the best conversations that I've had, because it was just like, it was like lightning bolt, and that's huge. And you really should be proud of yourself for doing this. This is a big deal, and congratulations on your seven years of success.
I'm literally living my dream.
Yeah, that's
literally
in 4,000 examples of how to change the world for the better, and you really should be very proud of yourself. Now, where can they find you? Where can they find website,
Sure.
Instagram, Facebook, you name it, you can drop it now.
So workitcareers.com is the website, workitcareers.com. You can find me on Instagram at workitcareers. And you can email me at lori@workitcareers.com.
Do it. You guys need to make sure you reach out to her if you need any help. I'm going to actually talk to her. I'm going to shut this camera off and talk to you about something I've been meaning to kind of talk to you about for somebody that I know.
Sure.
And seriously, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I look forward. Hopefully we'll have you on again.
Awesome.
Awesome. Sweet.
Thanks so much, Ben.
Bye.
Bye.